Welcome to Music and Medicine. I'm your host, Dr. Moshe Lewis. Excited to be here with my co-host, Kathleen Bradley. Welcome.
Hey, thank you, Moshe. It's been really a great ride so far. We've had some wonderful people here and more to come.
Sure.
And everybody's been watching the show. I've heard a lot of good rave reviews, and who knows, our NAACP awards waiting.
We're talking. We're in talks.
We're talking.
Sounds good. And this next young man, of course, is, I'm happy to be, let's say, a friend, but also just feels like family. Welcome, Flex Alexander.
Hey, Flex.
I like the young man. I like that. I love that. I'll take that.
Sure.
How you doing, man?
Good.
How both of you doing?
Good, man.
And of course, your reputation precedes itself. I'm from New York as well, which you may or may not realize. So yes, the dancing, the music, and things of that nature. I gotta go back to that because one time I heard you say, and I was at your place, and that a big part of hip hop is dance. Talk to us about how important it not only was to you, but just how big a part of your life it was.
Hip hop, everything that's happened to me in my life stemmed from hip hop. You know, growing up, I got to be there in the schoolyards with the greats, with the Grandmaster Flash, with the Melly Mel, with the Africa Bambaataa. I got to see them live rap, and I mean, where they would bring the turntables out, plug the power cord up to the lamppost.
Right.
You know, so I got to see, I got to break dance on the cardboard, and if you were fancy, you had linoleum. That sparked something in me, seeing that, what the music did to me. The first hip hop record I ever had was Super Rhymes by Jimmy Spicer. His daughter is actually a comedian, Angelina Spicer, who she, is an advocate on postpartum and women's mental health. So we got to talk on social media, and I saw her post. I was like, "Are you kidding me? I said, that's my first record." Yeah. So hearing that record, watching hip hop evolve, it just took me for a ride. My junior high school, every program we had, I wanted to break dance, and my first paid gig was dancing at my math teacher's son's bar mitzvah. I got paid $50. I was like, yo, if they're doing this, I'm in hip hop forever. So everything that's happened to me, it really was because of hip hop, because that was the thing that got me in, and I just kind of transitioned, to every aspect of hip hop, from hip hop into dancing and choreography, and then that went into stand up, and then into acting. Everything just kind of it was serendipity, just everything lined up, and I really owe so much to hip hop.
And I've seen him on several golf tournaments, always at the celebrity golf tournaments. And I know his body of work as an actor, but I was surprised when I saw his bio and read that you were a break dancer, and that you dance. And I'm so glad that I did not have a break dance off with him. And I said, hey man, I could do this and that. See, what can you do? I would have just been pulling his leg, because I used to shake a leg a little bit here and there, but nothing of that caliber. That is amazing. I would love to see some of your break dances. Do you have videos, something somewhere?
I don't have any videos of break dance, because back then.
Yeah, right.
I know in my household we couldn't afford that.
And no cameras or anything like we have it now, unfortunately.
But there's videos of when I danced with Salt-N-Pepa, when I danced with Crystal Waters, of course. She had the song Gypsy Woman, the la-da-dee, that song, that video, Queen Latifah, so many. I danced with Salt-N-Pepa for years. Those were my sisters, man. They were so supportive. When I started doing stand-up, they would come to Harlem, to a place called Uptown Comedy Club. That's where I started. And they would come up there and support me, and they were such big supporters that while we were on the road, they were like, hey, you want to open?
I was like, you did.
So I would go out, I would do 30 minutes of comedy first, go back, change, come out and dance.
What a wonderful platform that was. How you happened to be there anyway and get double
and get 2 checks.
Yes,
you know
there you go. Absolutely.
I was like, why not? So they were always so supportive. And then the stand-up slowly morphed into acting. I was performing at the Uptown Comedy Club, and as soon as I finished, these producers and the casting women came up to me, and it was Jackie Brown, Carmen, and it's producer Gerard Brown and Ernest Dickerson, and they said, hey man, we're doing this little movie called Juice. we would love for you to come read for the lead. And I was like, all right. I had never read for anything. I had my managers there at the time. They spoke to them, went, I did the audition, and I just kept getting further and further. And there at the audition, I met, Omar Epps. I met Khalil Kane. I met, Jermaine, forget his last name. He played Steel. And I met Tupac. And I met Tretch from Naughty by Nature, who actually, Tupac just tagged along with him to the audition. And then they just saw Tupac and said, hey man, do you act? He was like, yeah. And the rest is
What
history.
year was this?
This was 1990, had to be 92.
Oh,
yeah, because I think it came out either 93 or 92, somewhere around there. And I remember us spending about 4 days together. They were just mixing and matching to see whose chemistry was good. And this is where I knew that Tupac was just, now that I know he had training, but then I was just like, yo, this dude is real. We were doing the scene where he greets Omar Epps at the locker, and he's like, yo, where you been, Q? And da-da-da, and they're in this, in this hallway talking. And at the end of the scene, he says, some, partner. And he got behind me, smacked me in the butt, and I started laughing because I'm still thinking of, we're out in the hallway joking and stuff. And I'm still kind of thinking of that. We all playing, but as soon as he came in, he locked in. And that's where I said, okay, it's another level, and I knew right there I wasn't completely ready yet to be a lead. And then Omar is obviously a great actor, great friend. He killed it. And, I was devastated that I didn't get it. They called me and said, hey, we liked you so much, man. We want to find something in there for you. So they found a little role in there, and that role became iconic as the bad DJ, and Latifah got to cuss me out.
Okay, right.
Which I gave her the joke to say. Because she was like, she knew I was a comedian. She was like, all right, you're going to make me look stupid. I was like, I got you. And that, 50 Cent just posted that 2 weeks ago on his page. And it just, that scene lives forever.
Right. Sure. I got to see it that again.
Yeah. Talk to us about that transition to, and thank goodness it continues to have a great resurgence, one-on-one.
Oh, man.
Thanks to Cozy.
One-on-one. But even before one-on-one, I'll give you a little bit. After Juice, doing that, my good friend Dougie Doug, an actor, he had his own show. They were developing his show, and we had the same management at the time. So they were doing a stand-up showcase at City College in New York. So they were like, it was the Brown brothers. They were putting all their comedians on. I was like, somebody else gonna get a deal. So I performed. They loved what I did, and they said, hey, we want him to read for Doug's best friend, which we were actually like really best friends. And they gave us a script, and I just studied. I really didn't think anything much about it. I did the audition in New York, and they really liked me. They said, we want to fly him to LA. And I was like, oh man, what? So they flew me out here, put me up Universal Hilton, and I was only supposed to be there for a couple of days, and I ended up being there for like a week and a half, between all the auditioning and then we got to the screen test. And it was down to me and another guy. And all I knew was to do what I knew how to do and just be real. Yes. So I left there, and I had a meeting at CBS. I was doing general meetings, and I'm sitting in there, and the receptionist at the time, she gets the phone. She said, hold on. She says, your agent. I get on the phone with him. He said, hey man, how you doing? I said, I'm good, man. He said, yeah, you're not going to be able to, talk with CBS. And I'm like, why?
I'm here.
He said, because you got your show on ABC.
Hey.
Man, I hung up. I said, thank you so much. And I ended up, they had to call me a cab. I didn't have a car.
Oh, okay.
At the time. Being from New York, I didn't.
But that's big how they bring you in just for them to do that.
It was amazing,
that's
man.
Big.
I never forget getting in the cab, heading back to the hotel, and just thinking, like, I'm going to be on the same network as all the shows that I watch. Happy Days, Fantasy Island, Love Boat. I was just like, I was blown away.
Dream come true, huh?
I called my mom, my grandmother. I was so excited. And that's what started me on series television, doing Where I Live. And then that went on, and I went to do Homeboys in Outer Space. because the network UPN had just been created and they were trying to get more programming. They had Malcolm and Eddie, they had Moesha, and a lot of shows. Of course, they were, building the networks like they do, with Black content. And a show called Homeboys in Outer Space.
Homeboys in Outer Space.
Yeah. Myself and my buddy Darryl Bell from A Different World.
Yes.
We did the show. We had fun, and it was great, man.
How many episodes did you do?
We only did 22.
Oh, okay.
They canceled it.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, for a kid from the project in the South Bronx, at that time, making, 35 grand a week.
If it was half of that, it would still be good, huh?
Listen, in between, and I didn't even think about the money. When my agent told me, are you making this? I'm like, all right, cool, man. When I start working. Right. I just enjoyed the work. I enjoyed being on set. I enjoyed having fun. I enjoyed making people feel good. And we had fun on that show. It was a weird show, but I dug it because I was kind of a Trekkie, I love Star Trek and all that stuff. So it was fun. Then that got canceled. Then there was in between time where I was like, okay, yeah, I'm frustrated. I'm leaving. I'm going back to New York. And I had met Shanice at the time. I had moved into the building that she was living in already. She was on her way to a Lauryn Hill concert. I see her. I'm like, hey, Shanice. She's like, hey, Flex. Let's keep in touch, whatever. I see her again 2 weeks later, exchange numbers. We're just talking. And now this time my grandmother had just passed. So I used to talk to her a lot about that. And then I remember just saying, I'm frustrated. I was like, I'm leaving, man. I'm going back to New York. And she was like, you can't do that. She was like, you're too talented. She's like, don't you have any ideas yourself? I was like, yeah, I have an idea about the single father and boom, boom, boom. And lo and behold, that's one-on-one, so pitching it. We went from pitch to deal. They shot the pilot, which didn't get picked up. And a year later got picked up, which never happens. Ever. Right. And we're driving back from our 1 year anniversary, and my manager called and said, hey, they want to pick up the show. I'm like, are you crazy? This was perfect. I'm like, I just got married. I'm like, oh my gosh.
See there, that's divine order.
Yes. And then we had baby on the way at that time, my daughter. So it just all worked out the right way. And it was other than my children and family, it was probably one of the best moments in my life, doing something that came from me. Yes, and I wanted to make a statement that Black fathers are not deadbeat. They handle their responsibilities, and I wanted to show a great dynamic between the father and the daughter. And I think we did that.
And it's so, like I said, it's back
and
on.
It's like during the pandemic, Netflix put it on.
Yes.
And I was just like, I had a whole new audience. I got like 12-year-olds now coming up. And I'm like, Stevie Wonder's daughter, I think, was turning 12. I'm like, how does she know about the show? She said, oh, would you surprise her? And I was like, all right. Went to the house. And she was just like, I just couldn't believe it, man. And now it's on Clio TV, and I've seen it on several different networks. So I'm thankful.
Yeah, cozy as well.
Yes.
A lot of people, we talk about disappointments in this industry though as well, don't know some of the roles that you almost got and you auditioned hard for. Talk to us about that experience, because a lot of times we only talk about sort of the glamour, and many people don't know, like, you are out there auditioning all the time and coming close.
Yeah, it is. That's one of the parts I think that we as creatives, we build a thick skin. You know what I mean? We just learn and we understand that rejection is just part of it. And it's just like, okay, no.
Move on.
You just keep going, Initially,
it's like a bad golf shot.
Yeah, you just move on like a bad golf shot.
You hope and pray for the best.
That's a great analogy.
There's another hole.
Yeah, you hit a great drive and then hit a terrible second shot.
There you go.
But I just created this thick skin and kind of just keep it moving, because if you get attached to everything, it'll drive you insane.
Sure.
I did a show called Blue Bloods. I did a pilot with Donnie Wahlberg, and I was his original partner, and it was great because finally I was doing a dramatic role, playing a cop, and I'm like, good, I can step away from the comedy, because even when auditioning for that show, they just kept making me come in over and over, because they just only knew me as a comedian. And the head of CBS at the time, Les Moonves, was just like, I know him as a comedian, da da da. But I just kept going in, and I just kept killing it. I was so comfortable with it, and I was just ready. And I probably auditioned for that about 6 times. Then I screen tested against a bunch of people. And even after the screen test, they called me, and I had to go to, I don't know if it was Van Nuys, the casting office. It was 7 o'clock. I literally had to go. The casting director met me there just for me to go on tape for them to send to Toronto. I had to do it again. This was after my screen test. But I'm like, okay, whatever I got to do. I was like, I'm locked in. I did it. And then the next day I was out, I forgot where I was, and I got the call. My agent was like, you got it. You're flying out tomorrow. Wow. I was like, what? And that's how it happens in this business. You know that. It's one day, boom, then you're gone.
Yes.
So flew out, and we shot in Toronto, and I got to shoot in New York, which I've always wanted to shoot at home.
Right.
And I remember we shooting some scenes uptown, and people like, yo, Flex, what up, yo? What up, Shane? Yo, good to see you.
Big dog.
It felt so good. So we shot it, and I was talking to some of the producers, and they were like, hey, you're going to have to find a place here. And I'm like, yeah, we didn't get picked up yet. They were like, Tom Selleck's on the show. I was like, right. Okay. Code word, Tom Selleck.
There you go.
So, and Donnie. And so I did it. So now we're waiting. The normal system is you shoot, edit, do all that, put the pod together, and they screen it. And then it's picked up. You fly to New York for upfronts with all the advertisers and networks. And it got picked up. And my wife she's looking and doing her research. They're picking it up. And I'm like, I said, babe, they're not picking up my option. Because even though they pick up the show, you don't have to pick up your option as an actor. They have the right to replace or whatever. And that's what happened. They were like, well, they're not picking up the option. The EP called me. He's like, man, it's not you. They're trying to do something different. So they replaced me. It was a female, Puerto Rican officer. So they wanted to just have a different dynamic.
Yep, that happens for sure.
You know, had it been another brother, I probably would have been destroyed.
Yep.
But I was like, okay, at least, okay, all right, yeah.
There you go.
So that was tough to deal with, because at that time it was slow, wasn't a lot going on. And this literally, I talk about it all the time. That would have been my retirement. You know, like it was, and the show went for what, 14, 15?
Yeah, buddy. Still going.
Yeah, still going. So I just, that hurt. Not being able to do that show. And I found out some other things later, you know, but I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's tough. It's tough. It's definitely tough to, you know, be replaced or not be able to be part of a series. And, you know, especially when you know, that's.
Yep. It's just so much joy and you got it and you're so happy and everything. And then it's just like, bam, it's like having a bunch of sugar and let down and you crash.
Right there. You're at the finish line.
Yeah.
But the thing is, and you know, being in the business, you cannot allow that to determine how you're going to move forward. Yeah. So you do and deal with that. And this business is dog eat dog.
Oh, man.
Very challenging and all the despair and all the better get ready for it. Like you said, you got to have some thick skin to be in this business. Yeah. So, you know, just pray on it and just say, Lord, I know you have something better in store for me. And lo and behold, usually something given time, you know, stay strong long enough.
Right. Yes.
And don't go to Harry Carey. Okay.
No Harry Carey. No.
You're going to be okay. Learning lessons, huh?
Yes, definitely. And again, it's, you know, I just love, again, being on set and just love working. Like, I've never been caught up in the other stuff.
Right.
I just love working.
Yeah, that's
just want to have fun.
It is fun.
You know what I mean? Take care of my family, you know, be able to take a trip here and there, play my golf. That's good.
What are you working on presently?
Back on the road doing stand-up. Been doing stand-up. I got back. I left stand-up for about 12 years. And my good buddy Chris Spencer said, man, you got to get back on stage. You got to get back on stage. And I'm like, yeah. So in 2018, I got back on stage and it started picking up. Then obviously we had the pandemic, slowed everything down. It picked up again. But then as I started picking up, they were doing a stage production of New Jack City. And I jumped on that with Alan Payne, Big Daddy Kane, Gary Durdan, Tretch from Naughty by Nature. Like we sold out everywhere. It was,
heard about it.
Mario Van Peebles came out, Ice-T came out. Like it was a great experience. And I got to play Pookie, Chris Rock's role, but I did something a little different with the role. But that was so much fun. Got to work with it a lot. And it was my first time, as long as I've known all of them, it's my first time working with them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was great.
It's a wonderful working in theater, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
And especially for you being a stand-up.
Yes.
And you're used to the audience.
Yes.
I know I've worked with audiences for years.
That timing.
It is, and it's the energy you get from them. It's so
Feedback.
Different than doing the film or movie or TV or what have you.
Everything is so...
Yeah, and you're there, and you know you're going to do that within the hour or two, and that's it. You don't have to pick up a shot. You don't have to keep going and take 45 times and doing this and that. It's still kind of nice, but you know what you're into when you do that. But otherwise, when you do the theater and the camaraderie and just the energy, it is amazing.
It was amazing. Mm-hmm. We had a great camaraderie. We got to tell stories and, talking to Tretch when I met him, and then he was on the road with Naughty by Nature. I was with Salt-N-Pepa. And at that time when he had met Peppa, like it just being able to go back and hear stories from Alan Payne.
Those relationships, you never forget. And just like you bond,
it was amazing. So we did that. That tour went on for about a year and a half, kind of stop and start. That went on for about a year and a half. And then went back to stand up again. And I shot a couple of movies. I shot this one called The Assistant. I forget the other one I shot, but shot a couple of movies, independent movies, which were great because got to do something different. Got to work with my great friend and brother I look up to, Oba Babatunde.
Oh yeah,
I love Oba Babatunde. Worked with him, and I said, you know what, I don't want to wait anymore. So started writing and developing and. Developed another project, myself, Chris Spencer, and Buddy Lewis, and that's what we're working on now. We're actually going to start shooting end of either October or first week of November of 2024. And
hint, what's it about? hint.
I cannot.
Oh, you're sworn to secrecy.
He has to come back.
Can't say anything, but once we get it going, definitely we'll come back. But I'm excited about that because again. It always seems like with me, the things that go are the things that I create or that come from instead of waiting.
Sure, right.
And there's nothing wrong with the other stuff because I've been able to, do Grey's Anatomy, CSI Miami, Station 19. I did a show on HBO, Masters of Sex. A whole bunch of stuff that I've still been able to. Keep going.
You're a working actor.
And it's like working actor. And it's tough to keep doing that. It is.
It really is.
I always say I'd rather slow burn for 50 years than be a raging fire for 2.
Sure.
But once they know you in the business and your reputation will literally precede you, and the people and the casting people know your work, and they know you're easy to work with, and you have a good reputation, and those roles come along, and the casting people, they're just like, hey, we want Flex. We know we want him. Sometimes you don't have to audition because they know they want you for that part, and that makes their life a lot easier as well.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that in the industry, the casting people and all the people that make up the movie, TV, or whatever you do, they need you as much as you may want and need them as well. So, be prepared.
And be nice to them.
You must better. You better in this business. They don't forget if you show up late and you're loud and drunk or
that's one thing
drugs,
nobody can ever say.
That's what I'm saying. You have that reputation. That's where you're working, man.
Yeah, sure. Yes, I'm thankful.
And one last thing to hit on, we all have these challenges in life. How do you personally, because we're familiar with all the things we've gone through, and some of them we haven't fully talked about, but how do you dig deep and come forward to still smile? You've always been the same, always been genuine, always throw a great party, by the way.
Well, we, everyone may know or not know, we did a show called Flex and Shanice on the Oprah Winfrey Network, and we talked about struggles we went through. It was during that time of the market crash in 2008.
I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, but just to clarify, Shanice, your wife.
Oh, right.
Tell people who she is. We know she is, but she's a woman. Tell. She is.
So we did a show called Flex and Shanice on the Oprah Winfrey Network with my wife, Shanice, Grammy-nominated singer and actress, an amazing mom, wife.
She is.
We talked about what we went through. We had the crash in 2008 when everything was going crazy. The housing, it was bad. And she always loved reality TV. She's always watching. If it's a Real Housewife, it could be the Real Housewives of Bangladesh. She gonna watch it. She's watching it, and I'm just like, and she's like, I want to do reality. And then this opportunity came up, and we just said, you know what? I said, listen, if we're gonna do a reality show, let's talk about something, and so we can at least help some people. And we talked about what we went through. Now, what we went through was, we invested a lot of real estate during the time, had a bunch of property in Las Vegas, and obviously that was the wrong place to have it at that time. But when the bottom fell out, you're trying to hold on, because all I've heard in my mindset is real estate, you can pass that down, and that's wealth.
Right, generation.
So generational wealth. So I'm just like, man, so during that time, all the tenants, everybody was just not paying rent. They were leaving, bouncing. They were like, so I'm pulling from savings, trying to hold it instead of just saying, let me let this go. I'm just fighting, and I did that for too long, and we just drained ourselves and filed for bankruptcy and all that. And it was tough, especially being in the public eye and going through that. But I said, I'd rather us tell it in blogs or something else. We're gonna tell the story. And we had a lot of positive feedback. We had this one, I remember in particular, this one woman who reached out to my wife, and she said that her and her husband, they were going through it so bad. They were planning their own suicide. They were gonna leave their kids with her mother. They were getting their letters ready and all that stuff. And they saw our show. And they said, well, if they can go public with it and they can make it through it, we can. And thankfully they didn't commit suicide. So I was like, if it wasn't for just that one person, that couple, I'm like, we did what we were supposed to do. And it's a tale that we all go through. People, I had so many people in the industry that we probably both know that were coming up to me and saying, thank you for saying something. I was sleeping in my car, or I had to move back to my mother's house, but they would never come out and be honest about it. I just was like, whatever. I'm going to talk about it and work through it and get to the other side. And thankfully we got to the other side, but it was a lot. It was a lot. But I'm thankful that for the people that it did help, because it helped us too. It was cathartic for us. And, you just got to keep pushing, man, because you just got to keep going. Just have to keep going.
I want to tease out that other side, though, as we're wrapping up. How many years you've been married, still with your same wife and with your kids.
Yes.
And every time I'm with you guys, it's family.
It's a party. It's a party. Shanice and I, we're coming up on 25 years. 2 amazing kids. Our daughter's 23. Our son is 20. They're creatives. Artists, of course, I didn't want them to do that, but of course, this is what they grow up in, so that's what they love. But, our daughter is like really, you have kids, and all of your friends who you came up in this business with, they have kids, and all the kids get together now. So she hangs out with, Erica Campbell and Warren Campbell's kids, Tashina Arnold's, Martin Lawrence's kid, like everybody, and they're just regular kids. These kids are so awesome, man. We're around them, like they're just good kids, and that's for me is more important than anything. I don't care who your parents are, how famous they are, as long as you're a good kid. That's all that matters. And they're really cool. They hang out and have their little parties, and I still treat my daughter like she's 11. So,
that goes over big.
Yeah, she's so over it.
Yeah, right.
I can't get a hug anymore.
They do change.
I want to make sure we highlight it. Many would have left.
Okay.
What helped you stay?
Stay
just in the face of that level of intensity and diversity and career change.
again, as far as the business, I mean, I love performing. I love doing what I do. Do I love the business part of it all the time? No. But I just love what I do. I think, you know, if I was doing it for superficial reasons, I would have quit a long time ago. But it's been in me since I was younger, since I saw Eddie Murphy's Delirious, and I said, Mom, that's what I'm going to do. So it's been in me ever since then. And with Shanice, she's been performing since she was 6, 7. First record deal at 11. First single at 14. Like, you know, that's got to be in you. You know what I mean?
Inherently.
Yeah, it's still going. It's still going. So I think the love for it is what made both of us keep going. Yep.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love it.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you.
A true pleasure to have you. You heard it here, Flex Alexander, despite all of the intensity of having the exhilaration of getting a phenomenal role and then creating a part for himself and having a great show that's still on now, one-on-one. All of us face these ups and downs in this career and in life, and certainly his fortitude, I think, opened a blessing that he could have never imagined, touching a family that he was on the brink of saying goodbye. That means a lot. And I don't think you could have ever imagined that your story would reach somebody in that type of way. So,
yeah, but really, what's your handicap?
Right now, my handicap is going up. I'm so mad. I was a +1. Now I'm a 3.2.
See, he's pretty good, man. They bring all the ringers out there, too. They do. I see him. I see you and Buddy and all y'all stacking up, and Chris. Like, okay, there it goes. And how many mulligans?
We play honest. You people out there, it's crazy. It's for charity. Stop cheating.
That's true. I love seeing you come out, man.
Sure. Yes, thank good seeing you always.
Absolutely. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.